waves of sweet nectar. O holy name of Lord Krishna, please sweetly appear on my tongue.
That's a good one.
Excellent.
Yeah. Isn't that's really, it has to be like that, otherwise,
Excellent.
it's
Oh.
unspiced kitchery.
But it's still kitschy,
Yeah.
Nourishing, nevertheless. Excellent.
Jaya Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. Whoops. Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Shri Krishna, Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, I tell you, I just feel so unqualified. My God, when I was chanting, I was thinking, my God, how can I ever reach Krishna, you know?
That is your
Impossible.
qualification. There's no other qualification, really.
He has to perform an incredible miracle. Wow. All right.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you good.
Okay. Well, that is the qualification. Really. There's no other qualification than feeling like that.
Yeah.
The minute you feel qualified, you're disconnected. You're on a lower level.
Well, you know, that's the reality. I'm looking at this. And my God, it's really true. Very unqualified. Really, you know, it's just, it has to be like pure mercy, you know, just, I just so insincere, you know. Yeah, my God, you know. So many faults.
This verse in Bhagavatam says this Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. But there's one good quality about this Kali Yuga. is simply by chanting the holy name, one can reach the highest destination.
Mm. Yeah, and a little Gauranga's mercy too, or a lot of Gauranga's mercy. So how is it working there with Vishnu Priya? Is there any progress?
Well, she says it's saying that she's not on the internet, and I told her.
Okay.
She says, "Well, things might work for you, but they don't work for me." I says, "You're jinxing yourself." So anyway,
Okay.
I don't know how to invite her either. I'm looking around.
You ever tried to go back to Skype sometimes, or Uvu?
Well, this thing, it records, so nicely. It's this is like first class, And I have people watching for this too. They want, even there's one person already on there live.
Yeah, and it's too demanding to run both applications.
Yeah, it doesn't work so good. I mean, she's just going to have to get it done. I mean, just get somebody over there and help her get on Google Plus. I don't know. How does everybody else do it?
I think she.
If she has a desire, she can do it.
She lets people use her computer, and then.
Well, then it depends on how important this is. I mean, I mean, I don't know what else to do. I have to broadcast here on Google Plus.
And pray for her.
Pray for her. Yes, good idea. All right, so why don't we do a little reading? It took us like an hour to just get rolling here. Or you want? What should we read tonight? Any suggestions?
How about Saints of Raj?
All right, go ahead.
Okay, I'll find a short one.
Yeah, and if you would send me later on, just send me her email address. Then I could probably invite her since you don't know how to do it.
Okay. Can I put it in the chat right now?
Yeah, put it in the chat right now, and I can work on it. Yeah, Mina's coming on, it looks like.
Well, there it is. Well, oh shoot. Haribol, Meena. Okay. Radha Raman Das Babaji.
Welcome there. Yeah, Mina's coming on, it looks like. Boy, is that a long delay.
Yeah. Was that Meena from Mina's neck of the woods? That feedback came?
I don't know. I have no idea.
All right.
Yeah.
Right. Sri Radha Raman, Saints of Raj. Radha Raman Das Babaji. Living to die in Vrindavan is regarded as the surest shortcut to eternal life of loving service to Radha Krishna in transcendental Vrindavan. Sanat Kumara Samhita says, if a man only surrenders to Vrindavan, that is, lives here with faith and devotion till the end, then he has nothing else to do in order to attain the highest end. Vrindavan, by virtue of its own nature, gives him the Parampada, that is, a place in the highest transcendental region, which is transcendental Vrindavan itself, without considering his merit or demerit. But since the Empress of Vrindavan is Radharani, no one can die here if he does not have her blessings. It has been noticed that some people who live in Vrindavan all their life are pushed out of Vrindavan at the end because they did not have her blessings, while some others who lived out of Vrindavan all their life came here at the end and died here because they had her blessings. Sri Radha Raman Das Babaji was one of those exceptionally fortunate persons who was called to Vrindavan by Radharani herself, the very day on which he was destined to leave his body, so he might leave it in Vrindavan. Sri Radha Raman was born in April of 1932 in a village in West Bengal called Malati, in a respectable Brahmin family. His father was Sri Vinaya Krishna, who was a landlord and a famous advocate of Calcutta High Court. His mother was Lalita Devi, a very religious lady. She was the disciple of Sri Ram Das Babaji Maharaj, the renowned Siddha saint of Calcutta. She got Radha Raman also initiated by Ram Das Ji Maharaj when he was still young. After initiation, a sudden change was noticed in him. He used to retire to a lonely place and meditate for hours. His eyes always swam in tears. In this state, he somehow completed his education and passed the MA examination from Calcutta University. But when his parents began to negotiate for his marriage, he found himself standing at a crossroad. He renounced the world and went to Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, he took sannyas diksha from Sri Madhava Das Babaji. Then he went to a village, Magera, where his elder godbrother, Sri Ramakrishna Das Babaji, lived. And under his guidance, he studied Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, and other scriptures. After this, he began to live in Varahavan near Rala and practiced sadhana. His absorption in bhajan was so deep that he would not even go for Madhukari every day. He went for Madhukari once or twice a week and collected sufficient rotis to last him for a number of days. When the rotis dried up, he dipped them in water and ate them. The result was that he developed gastric ulcer. Acute pain in his stomach caused great difficulty in his bhajan. He had to go to Calcutta for treatment. He was admitted into the hospital. His younger brother, Sachidulala, and niece, Kumari Nandini, attended upon him, but his condition worsened day by day. One day in the evening, the pain in the stomach suddenly became too severe. The doctors were called. He overheard one of them saying to the other, "He may vomit blood tonight and die." He was not afraid of death, but his anxiety was that he would die out of Vrindavan in a Calcutta hospital. In his anguish, he began to pray to Radharani, "O Swamini, the mistress of my heart, why have you turned me out of Vrindavan to die here like a dog? Perchance, have I committed some offense? Maybe that instead of doing bhajan, I have only deceived myself and others by imitating as one absorbed in bhajan. If I had not done so, you must at least have given me the boon of death in Vrindavan. You thought I did not even deserve to die in Vrindavan. But my Swamini, even though undeserving, am I not yours? Even if I have I imitated as someone other than your servant? You are by nature so merciful that even if a man takes your name by mistake, you give him darshan. I do not know why you are so indifferent to me. I do not ask for darshan because I know I don't deserve it. I ask only for death in Vrindavan. Have mercy on me, Swamini, have mercy on me. As he said this, he cried out loud in deep distress and became unconscious. His cry did not go in vain. He touched the heart of Radharani. She came running along with Krishna and gave him darshan in his unconscious state. With a smile on her face, she showed him her right hand as if to bless him with death in Vrindavan, while Krishna gently moved his lotus hand on his stomach and asked in a tender voice, "Where do you feel pain, Baba?" How could Baba say where he was feeling pain and to whom? For the pain as well as the questioner had disappeared along with the question, and Radha had disappeared too. The next morning, the doctors were surprised to see that the patient, who was excruciatingly in pain till only 8 or 10 hours before, and should have died in the morning, by morning had sat up and was asking for food. Baba returned to Raj and again began to live in Varahavan. He had regained his health. His stomach pain had disappeared, but he had developed another kind of pain, for which no doctor had any treatment. He had begun to feel severe pain of separation from Radha and Krishna. He felt this pain before, but it was neither so severe nor so constant and unbearable. This was natural because ever since Radha and Krishna had responded to his prayer and blessed him not only with their darshan, but with their smiles and affection, he had developed a new conviction, a conviction that they were his own more than anyone else. How could he bear the thought that those who were his own more than anyone else be remote from him more than anyone else? The thought pained him so much that he often became unconscious. After some time he went to Jatipur and began to live in a cave, which is known as the cave of Raghava Pandit, a close associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But his viraha, pain and separation, went on increasing. Sometimes he lay unconscious in viraha for hours. His indifference to body also increased. He lived only on buttermilk and leaves of the neem tree. The result was that he became too weak. His disciples, Baladev Ramgupta and Charana Varshanaya, began to worry about his health. On their insistence, he went to Jaipur so that Baladev Ramji might take proper care of him. Still, there was no relief in his separation pain, viraha. In this condition, his soul would have departed from his body long before, but for the occasional appearance of Radha or Krishna before him in some form or other. Once while he lived in Raghava Pandit's cave, he saw Radharani along with her Sakis picking flowers from a garden and smiling at him as if to reassure him that he continued to have her blessings. Once while he and Baladev Ram were returning from a village to Jaipur after sunset, they lost their way in darkness and entered a jungle. They were trying to get out of the jungle when some tribal boys appeared on the scene. One of them, who looked the most attractive, said to Baba, "You will go to Jaipur. Come, I'll show you the way." And as he said this, he held Baba's hand. He had hardly gone a step or two with Baba, and suddenly the whole scene changed. There was neither the jungle nor any of the tribal boys, and Baba and Baladev Ram found themselves standing near the Jaipur station. But though these experiences came to Baba as oasis in a desert, and gave him temporary relief, it could not quench his thirst for darshan. It went on increasing until the limit was reached. In November 1987, when he was still in Jaipur, he had a vision and a message from Radharani. He called Baladev Ram and said to him, "Radharani has called me to Vrindavan. Take me there." The next day, Baladev Ram started with Baba in a car to Vrindavan. On the way, Baba went to meet some of his disciples and devotees and said to them while parting, "I take leave of you. May Radharani bless you." Baba said this in a manner which indicated that he was going to leave them forever. This perturbed Baladev Ram. He began to think, is Baba really going to leave all of us forever? Does Radharani's call mean call to eternal Vrindavan? But the thought was too much for him. He explained it away by thinking that Baba was going to live in Vrindavan for the rest of his life and would not return to meet his disciples and devotees of Jaipur again. Baba reached Vrindavan in the evening. He proposed to stay for some time with his devotee, Atmaramji, who lived in Janagadani. So Baladev Ram took him there, and after some time he went with Baladev Ram to Loy's Bazaar. He purchased 2 pictures of Gauranitai and Radha Krishna. Then he said to Baladev Ram, "You go to Atmaram's place. I shall return after meeting Murari." Murari Lal was another devotee of Baba. Baladev reached Atmaram's house, but Baba did not reach there till late at night. Baladev Ram and Atmaram went to the house of Murari Lal to inquire about him. They were told Baba had not gone there at all. For 2 days, Baladev Ram, Atmaram, and Murari Lal searched nook and corner of Vrindavan, but could not find Baba. After 2 days, they read in the newspaper that the dead body of a Mahatma was found in a cave under Radharani's Raga Mahala in Nidivan. A shudder went through their body. They rushed to the spot and found to their surprise and dismay that it was the body of Radharaman Das Babaji. Since Baba's death had occurred in a mysterious circumstance, the police carried his body to Mathura. The investigation was done and nothing criminal was found. It was obvious that Baba had gone to Transcendental Vrindavan at the call of Radharani, who had accepted him in his Siddha Manjari Deha as her Saki in her Ranga Mahala or Nitya Nakunja in Transcendental Nidivan. The end. Radharaman Das Babaji.
Oh, the Saints of Raj is so amazing. Wow. Phew. So powerful. Oh, yeah.
That's in the Nitya Veda, isn't it? It can be read in the Nitya Veda.
Is it what now?
Can it be read in the Nitya Veda base?
No.
No?
Nope. Nope.
Oh.
Yeah. Actually, I had one copy on the PDF, but I don't know. I lost track of it. They can't find it. They don't have it anymore.
If you ever need it, I think I have it in PDF.
Oh, really? Definitely. If you have it, yeah, send it to me, please. Yes, definitely send it to me. I love that book. Yeah. So that was nice. Thank you. How about we read a little Bhakti Ratnakara into that? So everybody go. Is that okay or?
It's okay with me.
Yeah. How are you doing, Meena? Is everything cool?
Well, like I usually say, I'm not bored.
Not bored. Okay, well that's good.
Does that mean that you're overwhelmed? You feel you have too much to do?
I'll have to think about that question for a while.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you for thank you for keeping the door open.
Yeah.
Allowing me to wander back in here. And
Keeping the door open, of course. Hey, sometimes you gotta take a break. It's okay,
yeah.
no problem.
And dealing on this level of emotions doesn't always make sense. At least for me, it's to try and explain what's going on. Sometimes it just makes it worse.
It doesn't, yeah.
Try and unravel it,
Yeah.
So Sachi's very supportive, She sent a little
She's
email
good like
saying
that.
we have to learn how to forgive each other continually.
There you go. See,
That's what
Sachi's watching my back.
That's right. I get that from Gohari all the time because I have lots of opportunities to forgive him.
Walking around with the pooper scooper, So.
Boy, I tell you, see, Mahavir, I told you that's why I'm so unqualified, man. I can't even be nice to my friends. Always causing problems. That's why it'll take a big miracle to save a guy like me. All right, so let's get the Bhakti Ratnakar out here.
You're a good example. We don't have to be perfect to get some mercy.
Yeah. Okay. So that's on the for those who have this thing under all scriptures, and what was that? Narhari Chakravarti, right? Narhari Chakravarti. There he is. Okay. How about we try chapter 8? Is that okay? I don't know what it is, but I just chose it.
I don't have chapter numbers. What's the title of the
It's no titles.
I have waves. I have waves. Not so maybe it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's probably the 8th wave. Could it be? Yeah. It starts out as like glory to Gora Chandra, son of Sachi.
It always starts like that.
Okay. Oh, you know what?
Okay. I got it. That's
you got it. It's the way it works, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Narottam Das travels to Nilachana.
Yeah. All right. Who's eager to read?
Well, I've got it down here.
Okay, go for it, man.
Jai Jai Gaur Chandra Nitai, Jai Vedanta Jai Gaur Bhakta, Vanjara Patara Vishta Vasindhu Vadam Bhavani Vaishnu Narottam Das Thakur travels to Nilachal. All glory to Lord Gaurachandra, the son of Shakti. All glory is to Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Acharya. All glory is to Gadadhar Pandit and Shilas Pandit. All glory is to Rakeshwara Pandit, Murari Gupta and Haridas Thakur. All glory is to Gauridas Pandit, Sri Swarup Damodar, and to all the associates of Sri Gaurachandra. All glory is to the readers of this book, who are full of divine qualities. Now please listen attentively as I continue my narration. Being a professor of devotional literature, Srinivasacharya humbled the pride of the impersonalists who say that everything is illusion. He spent his days with his disciples in Jajigram, following the path chalked out by Narottam Das Thakur. He always eagerly anticipated his reunion with Narottam Das. Reminds me that there are offenses to Vaishnavas listed, and one of them is not to feel happy in the presence of a Vaishnava. So this eagerness to be reunited, is a very good sign of proper Vaishnava association behavior. He always eagerly anticipated his reunion with Narottam Das. Sri Narottam Das Thakur started for Navadvip with the memory of Lord Gauranga in his mind. Now that's the way to travel. When he arrived at the outskirts of Navadvip, he reminded himself that Navadvip was Lord Gauranga's place of pastime, where the residents spend their days in Harinam Sankirtan. It was here that festivals took place in each and every house of the devotees, and the residents cared not for their routine lives. An unhappy person could not be found in Navadvip, because every day everyone saw Lord Gaurachandra. Narottam Das lamented his misfortune because he was not born at the time of Lord Chaitanya's manifested pastimes in Navadvip. While thinking of this, his miseries overflowed their boundaries, and he shed profuse tears. I always felt that I didn't meet Prabhupada personally because of my past offenses. And when you reflect on that, we missed Lord Chaitanya by 500 years, Yeah. But Narottam and Srinivas, they were so close. The Lord was just there, and he left. While thinking of this, his miseries overflowed their boundaries, and he shed profuse tears. Upon entering Navadvip, Narottam Das was enchanted by the beautiful environment. He found that the inhabitants were full of joy. They continually talked about the glories of Lord Gaurachandra and his magnificent dancing, repeatedly chanting numerous names of Lord Gaurhari in relation to his associate. In the beautiful setting of Nadia, the people joyfully shouted the holy names and glories of Lord Gaurachandra. Simply by absorbing the divine beauty of Nadia, Narottam Das became overwhelmed with ecstatic emotions and shed tears of joy. Then suddenly, a grave sensation arose within his mind, and Narottam Das was able to visualize all of Nadia floating in an ocean of misery. He became perplexed by this ominous vision and pondered over its cause. Indeed, the very thought paralyzed him, and so he sat beneath a beautiful banyan tree. By the miraculous influence of this holy tree, Narottam Das' fatigue became mitigated, and he regained his patience. Then, as Narottam Das continued to console himself, he saw an elderly Brahmana coming his way. He was eager to speak to the Brahmana, but he checked himself. That Brahmana habitually spent time sitting beneath this tree, as it had been a place where Nimai had played as a child. When he saw Narottam Das, thought that he must be a devotee of Nimai. Although the elderly Brahmana could barely tolerate the scorching heat of the sun, simply a glance at Narottam Das cooled the heat of his body. The Brahmana was attracted by Narottam's well-built form, beautiful complexion, and large eyes that shed tears of love. He wanted to inquire about Narottam's history. The Brahmana approached Narottam Das and inquired about his name and his home. Narottam Das most humbly bowed down to the Brahmana and answered his questions. The Brahmana then embraced Narottam, and they sat beneath the tree for some time. The Brahmana told Narottam Das that he could not describe the happy atmosphere of Nadia unless he were given 4 or 5 mouths with which to speak. Unfortunately, however, Nadia had become a barren land from the very day that Nimai had left. The inhabitants of Nadia could not understand what force had driven Nimai to accept the renounced order of life from Keshava Bharati. The Brahmana could not bear to think of Nimai's existence as a sannyasi and the shaving of his beautiful hair. Because he always thought of Nimai wearing gorgeous clothing, he could not bear to see him wearing only a kopin. The Brahmana went on to say that Nimai had deprived the inhabitants of Nadia of his sweet association. After visiting innumerable holy places, Nimai had taken up residence in Nilachala and had lived there happily with his associates. The Brahmana went on to explain how the residents of Navadvip had received news of Nimai from the people who came from Nilachala, and that news brought them their only happiness. The sudden disappearance of Nimai in Nilachala was an intolerable shock for the people of Nadia. The favorite associates of Nimai disappeared soon after, and the miserable condition of the devotees in Nadia became beyond description. Day by day, Nadia sank into the depth of utter darkness. The disappearance of Srivas Pandit and others increased the darkness of gloom. The Brahmana felt greatly disheartened when he mentioned the name of Vishnupriya, the wife of Nimai, who was the embodiment of goddess Lakshmi and a woman of exalted devotional quality. She had also left this world only a few days before. The disappearance of Nimai burned the hearts of the residents of Nadia, and those who retained any breath appeared to be almost devoid of life. The inhabitants of Navadvip had become impatient, and they cried out the name of Nimai both while sleeping and while awake. I can't help but notice this crow in the background. And that's just how I feel. I'm just a crow trying to glorify the Lord with, a very theatrical voice. While actually it should be done with a choked voice and tears, goosebumps. Talk of being unqualified. The inhabitants of Navadvip had become impatient, and they cried out the name of Nimai, both while sleeping and while awake. They talked continuously about the divine character of Nimai, and they shed tears while remembering him. Even wicked people in Nadia were disheartened by his absence. The Brahmana denigrated his own position, saying that as a sophist, he had not recognized Nimai, whom he had considered to be a human being. According to the Vaishnava scriptures, Nimai was an incarnation of Lord Narayan, whose wonderful pastimes enchanted the entire world. Although the Brahmana had known him from his very childhood, he had never recognized him as the Supreme Lord. I think that's about all my voice can take. I've been chanting this morning. Pretty dry in there, just like in my heart. Truth is the reflection of my heart.
Well, that's all our situations. We're just all unqualified. So we're all in the same boat. The good fortune is somehow or other we have some appreciation for Lord Chaitanya and his associates. That's
somehow or other we're on a boat.
Yeah, we're on the boat somehow. Yeah. So who should read now? How about Meena? You want to read? Do you feel like it?
I can try. I was reading a little something from Bhaktivinoda Thakur last night because I couldn't sleep, and watching how he develops the progression of. I was reading something called Amnaya Sutra, where he gives very short encapsulated sutras, and then he takes from other scriptures and from acharyas. So he doesn't really give a purport. It's like his sutra is the purport, and then he gives all the verses from Svetashvara Upanishad, different places. And he develops it starting at the very beginning of the Lord's energies and his potencies, and describes how everything is built and expanded from the Lord himself. And by the time it's very scholarly and very detailed information. And then he reaches the point where it becomes obvious that there's no way out of it, out of the entanglement for the jiva soul, but by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. It just comes down to that.
Yeah.
And it's such a relief when he finally gives the solution to the... Because even if someone understands all of how the energies are working, it's still not enough to get out, just understanding. You have to get the mercy of the Lord and the Lord's devotees. So.
Yeah.
Develops it so beautifully. And the few things that I've read of his, he actually seems to say the same thing. Just he does it in different ways. One is a narration, another is with sutras, another. So I'm eager to look at some more of his writings to see how he says the same thing in different ways.
Yeah, right. Yeah, bhakti is not all that complicated. It's pretty simple. Simple truths.
Simple for the simple.
I've been reading his Jaiva Dharma lately. It's just like a masterpiece. It's so wonderful. And it's in the Purana form, the form of stories. So it's very easily assimilated.
All right. You know what? I'll read some of this Bhakti Ratnakara because I am kind of into that. It's so nice. This story, I'm really eager to hear some more of it. What verse is that? Put it in any verses? Where I was just listening. I didn't.
No, I just have continuous paragraphs. So.
Okay, yeah. So Brahman.
Well, anywhere you'll bite, and
okay, let's see.
I was sort of following along, and there's a paragraph.
How does it start?
The Brahmin then told Narottam is under the fig tree.
Okay.
I think it's right around there.
Okay.
I think.
Oh, okay. I mean, how does the paragraph actually start? What is it? The Brahmin informed Narottam?
The Brahmin then told Narottam that under the fig tree where they were sitting, Nimai had studied different scriptures with his...
There you go. You can read. You read. I'll listen. We'll listen.
The Brahmin then told Narottam that under the fig tree where they were sitting, Nimai had studied different scriptures enthusiastically. The Brahmin compared Nimai, encircled with his companions, with the moon surrounded by the stars. The Brahmin enjoyed remembering that beautiful scene, although that memory now gave him pain. He told Narottam that one day he actually visualized Sachinandan encircled by a large number of his disciples. Overwhelmed with joy, the Brahmin had fainted on the ground, and when he regained consciousness, the vision was gone. But remembering that Nimai and his companions were eternally present in Nadia, the Brahmin daily came to the fig tree. It was by the wish of Nimai that the Brahmin had met Narottam. He blessed Narottam and offered him his best wishes so that Narottam would remain a favorite devotee of Nimai Chand. Narottam was impressed by the sweetness and affectionate words of the Brahmin, and he bowed at the Brahmin's feet. With eyes full of tears, he requested the Brahmin to bless such an ignorant person as himself. The Brahmin took him to his chest and wished to be a great devotee. He held Narottam in his arms for some time, soaking him with his own tears. The Brahmin informed Narottam that Navadvip was a large town wherein he would find many companions of Nimai. He directed Narottam to go to Mayapur first and pointed out the road, and there he would find the house of Sati Jagannath Misra, where Lord Narayan had appeared in the form of Nimai. As directed by the Brahmin, Narottam started for Mayapur, passing through various villages on the way. He frequently asked for directions, and when he last entered Mayapur, he inquired humbly about the way to Jagannath Misra's house. While pointing out the right direction, that person began to shed tears, and his sorrow was shared by Narottam, who also cried. Narottam entered the house of Misra. He saw a kind-looking brahmachari in white clothes. When the brahmachari saw Narottam, he thought that although his heart had been pierced by misery, he was somehow feeling relief at the sight of this person. The brahmachari immediately thought the person must be Narottam Das, the faithful companion of Srinivas, who had come from Vraj with the Goswami books. He also remembered Narottam Das had been attracted by Mahaprabhu in Ramakeli village. The brahmachari inquired from Narottam about his name and home, and Narottam gave the details. The man in white clothes gave Narottam his own identity and then embraced Narottam tearfully. Narottam at once fell on the feet of that man, who could not control his tears. He cried loudly on the courtyard of the house of Mahaprabhu, and the brahmachari tried to console him, but Narottam could not control his emotion, remained lying at the feet of Ishan, the most favorite companion of Prabhu. Ah, Krishna. Sri Ishan took Narottam in a loving embrace and examined his face affectionately. He tearfully told Narottam that it was very kind that he had come at that moment. He told him how he had been able to get news of Narottam from various visiting Vaishnavas. Ishan then took Narottam to his room, where he met Damodar Pandit. Narottam bowed at the feet of Damodar and the Pandit cordially embraced him. He affectionately told Narottam that they had been waiting to meet him. Damodar told Narottam repeatedly how grateful they were that he had come at that moment, because the disappearance of Mahaprabhu had gradually driven them all towards death. He feared that he might never see Srinivas. Then introduced Narottam to Shripati, Srinidhi, and others. Even the deceased companions of Mahaprabhu came to meet Narottam in his dream. Narottam leaves for Nilachal.
Oh, got another nose blower.
Yeah,
Another nose blower, another budding nose blower.
Another trumpet.
I don't know what I would do if I couldn't cry, you know. I would just have to kill myself or something.
You just do what I do. You just sew along and listen. Wait for your day.
You know, people, they watch movies and dramatic performances, I mean, continually. I mean, how many channels are there on these TVs? There's like 700 channels because they want to feel something.
Yeah. It makes all this misery worth it.
Love of God is what they're looking for, love of God, you know, and the pure dealings of the pure Vaishnavas in relationship to love of God. But instead, they get the reflection through the temporary, flickering, unsatisfying, entangling. How fortunate, you know, fortunate we are, you know, we can look in the right direction at least. Narottam spent a few days and then decided to go to Nilachala. He was sorry to leave Nadia. He went to Mahaprabhu's house and requested Ishan Thakur for permission to go to Puri. Ishan Thakur encouraged Narottam to travel quickly to Sri Kshetra, as that place was also moving towards utter darkness. Ishan had recently got news from Puri that the mental condition of Gopinathacharya and others, according to the intention of Prabhu, had grown quite miserable. He wanted Narottam to meet them, to visit Srikand and Kantaka cities as soon as possible, and then to return to Nadia with Srinivas and Narottam together. He cherished the hope of meeting Srinivas and Narottam together. He also asked Narottam to visit Shantipur and Kardaha on his way, for anything undesirable might happen there. After that, Ishan remained silent and unable to understand Ishan's mind. Narottam could not control his tears. Narottam anxiously left Navadvip and started toward Shantipur. Absorbed in the Leela of Stanata, Narottam lamented. When he observed the village of Shantipur, Narottam wept in despair, as he knew he would not see Prabhu, Sri Advaita, the Lord of Shantipur, who had spent his life there without any attraction for worldly matters. But out of affection for Narottam, Mahaprabhu had already informed Advaita Karya's son, Achyutananda, about the arrival of Narottam only the day before. While Sri Achyutananda was waiting for Narottam, Sri Mahasaya entered Shantipur. The inhabitants were grief-stricken over the worldly disappearance of Advaita Prabhu. When Narottam stopped someone to ask him about the direction toward the Acharya's house, the man burst into tears, pointing out the location to Narottam. Out of kindness and affection, Prabhu Stanata Advaitacharya and his companions appeared before Narottam, although they were invisible before others. Narottam fainted on the ground in ecstatic love. By the wish of Prabhu, he regained his senses quickly. Having composed himself, Narottam entered the temple of the Lord and found that Achyutananda was waiting for him. Narottam did not have to introduce himself to Achyutananda because the young man had already been given all information about Narottam from his deceased father, Sri Advaita. Narottam paid his regards to Achyutananda, who was by then miserably grief-stricken on the death of his father and had grown thin. He impatiently stretched out his hands to embrace Narottam and cried. Achyutananda told Narottam sweetly and affectionately that he would not be able to keep Narottam for a long time, as it would cause delay and waste time. Narottam should visit Nilacha Chandra as early as possible, but he should not stay long in Puri, for he had many duties to accomplish. Achyutananda introduced Narottam to other favorite companions of Prabhu Advaita. They cared for Narottam very lovingly and kept him in Shantipur for 3 or 4 days. Then they gave permission for him to start for Nilachal. Narottam crossed the river Ganges quickly from the village of Haranadi and reached Ambika, where he saw the deities of Nitai Chaitanya. Gauridas was the devoted worshipper of these deities, and Narottam was greatly impressed to see Haridat's method of worship. Narottam bowed before the deities with tears in his eyes. He got the friendly association of Hridaya Chaitanya and other favorite followers of Advaita Prabhu. I shall not deliberately make this section of the book longer by giving an elaborate description of their different conversations. The followers of Mahaprabhu affectionately cared for Narottam, but advised him to go to Nilachala quickly. At the time of parting, they all cried, but after dedicating himself to the grace of Nitai Chaitanya, Narottam left Ambika with a heavy heart. Narottam visited all the villages where favorite. Would someone else like to read?
I have a question. I think you're muted, Gauravi. You think Narottam and Srinivas are about the same age?
Probably.
Okay.
I think so. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Have the something says maybe Srinivasa. No, I don't know. Actually, I don't know. But I think that it's a good possibility they are.
Because did Narottam meet Lord Chaitanya?
Not physically, only in like dreams and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had just disappeared. Same thing with Srinivas. Both of them didn't. I don't think. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Do you feel like not? You don't feel like reading, or?
I don't know. I just feel like I reached a stopping point.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I'll read a little bit more, and then we'll stop because it's 8 o'clock here. Okay. Let's see. About where were you? Narottam in Gundicha temple, or
Srila Narottam in Ambika Khan.
okay.
Narottam crossed the river Ganges quickly.
Oh, okay. Ambika. Narottam meets. Oh boy, this is a big chapter here. Okay. Narottam in Ambika Khan.
Oops.
Has to happen at least once.
You think you'll go out on kirtan today?
I've gone out every day, but not like for a real long time. Just
Me,
you too?
just an hour. Just an hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so wonderful. They're all, waiting to die.
I know, they don't have much time.
Maybe none of us do.
Yeah. They're just more aware of it, I think, than most people.
She's talking about the nursing home, and she had a kirtan with one of the ladies there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, maybe
nice.
I'll go. Maybe that's where I'll go. Find the nursing.
Yeah. Okay, I'll read a little bit more and then we'll cut it off here. Narottam crossed the river Ganges quickly from the village of Hari Nandi and reached Ambika, where he saw the deities of Nitai Chand. Gauridas was the devoted worshipper of these deities, and Narottam was greatly impressed to see Haridas's method of worship. Narottam bowed before the deities, with tears in his eyes. He got the friendly association of Hridaya Chaitanya and other favorite followers of Advaita Prabhu. I shall not deliberately make this section of the book longer by giving an elaborate description of their different conversations. Oh, you read that, huh? Okay, we'll go to the next section here. Sri Narottam in Saptagram. Narottam visited all the villages where the favorite followers of Mahaprabhu lived. He was thrilled to observe the beauty of Saptagram and offered his respects to that village from a distant place. Saptagram is a place of high religious importance, as it was the sadhana kshetra of 7 great ascetics, and also the meeting place of 3 great rivers, namely Sri Ganga, Yamuna, and Sarasvati. It was Vira Kshetra of Prabhu and Prabhu Nityananda. Yeah, you know what? I think I've also I can't go on anymore too. It's reached the time to. So, any comments or questions before we end?
Stay tuned. Don't go too far away.
Too far away. Yeah, we'll be back at 6 o'clock. Yeah, so everybody have a good day. And Sachi, anyway, I need to kind of, I'll tell you how to find the air conditioner switch.
I can probably find it myself. I can
Okay,
probably
it's,
find it very good.
yeah, you know where, it's not in the closet. It's below,
Okay, hurry back.